Welcome, my friends, to live coverage of GP Prague. You're in the booth with Riley Knight, and alongside me it is, of course, the Pro Tour champion, Simon Gertzen. My friend, we are underway. We are off to the races here with our sealed tournament already well and truly getting started here. We can see Andreas Guns versus Bart van Etten here, and already an aggressive play from van Etten with a sky skiff.
Yeah, not a bad start at all. Of course, the white-red deck will want to follow up with a lot of creatures to crew vehicles, and this is where white-red wants to be in this format in general.
Getting on the front foot early, but Guns is also doing exactly this as well, as we see Etten take to the skies even further with an Osprey. Guns now with a thriving Rhino, picking up some energy, and that's a nice aggressive posture from him early on as well.
Yeah, he's blue-green, so energy is going to be one of the things we should look out for. An early Rhino can mean that can basically win the game on its own if you support it sufficiently.
So there is the Osprey. You can see that on the side of Bart van Etten, and that one jumped into the sky skiff. Bit of a flavour violation there, of course, with the bird piloting the skiff, but good for 2 damage for Guns. However, van Etten is going to take 3 off this Rhino, and we're seeing Guns here with a follow-up play. Looks like the Leopard's going to come down and get amongst it here. Etherstream Leopard, one of, kind of similar to the Thriving Rhino in some ways. Generating a bit of energy when it comes down and attacking for more damage than just the 2-3 stats would indicate. But it's back to Bart van Etten now. We've seen the red-white decks, got there in the end, be more or less the fun police. These are the decks that are making sure people are on their toes and have answers to early aggression.
Yes, and blue-green can be very dirtly, but it can also be quite aggressive here with the energy-fueled enter the battlefield creatures. So something that's crucial here is that flyers are a little bit weaker. So even with Bart being on the play, he cannot just go into full race mode because it's too dangerous that he will lose the race.
Well, but look at this. We're seeing a third colour now from Bart van Etten as we see him deploy another 3-drop. The frontline Rebel is going to come down, attacking every turn as a 3-3. It's forced to do so by the rules of the card here.
Yeah. Synergizes nicely with vehicles. If you really don't want to use, if you really don't want to attack with it.
Yeah, just stick it into a vehicle and get stuck in there as well. But van Etten here, I'm curious to see what's going on with this mana base here. Obviously, a forest signaling that we're going to see more than just the 2 initial colors we thought we might be up against.
Yeah, same here, and the fact that Frontline Rebel is in this deck does mean that green is probably the splash color.
Let's have a look at what's going on here with Andreas Guns. Ooh, look at this. So we're going to see the Etherstream Leopard. The Etherstream Leopard has come in, been blocked by the Frontline Rebel, and immediately a combat trick deployed here by Andreas Guns. High Spire Infusion is going to beef up that Leopard there and take care of the 3-3. Rebel hits the bin, and it's back to van Etten. What do you think of that play there? Pretty aggressive deployment of that infusion there.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good because you've effectively spent 4 mana. Andreas is not using his turn most effectively. On the other hand, getting the 2 energy is some extra value when your creatures are so reliant on energy.
Yeah, that's going to be good for another +1/+1 counter on the Rhino there, should Guns choose to beef up that particular bad boy. We'll see exactly how things go. Van Etten already down to 10. He's taken a fair bit of damage here, not least of which, of course, is because the Leopard has trample. So now, van Etten, another 3 mana.
Yeah, welding sparks, and this is huge. Andreas did have extra use for his mana.
Oh, look at that. It's a negate. Main deck negate taking care of that Welding Sparks. How about that? So Welding Sparks, of course, one of the premium removal spells in Kaladesh, and certainly hasn't lost any of its impact in Ether Revolt here. Doing 3 damage, but no sir, says Andreas Guns in the face of that negate. What do you think of the main deck negate?
I like it.
I love it too.
I think in sealed deck, it can be so much more powerful than a 22nd, 23rd card that you would otherwise put in your deck. And don't forget that vehicles are non-creature spells.
Yeah, of course. You can snipe up a vehicle with a negate very tidily indeed. So here's a Welder Automaton coming down. Of course, this is the red version in this cycle of colorless creatures.
Yes, not the most impressive one. But still a solid inclusion in an aggressive deck.
Yeah, and also offering a little bit more utility in the form of, obviously being an artifact can help some improvised creatures or whatever else. Not that perhaps we're not going to see so much of that in Van Etten's deck here.
No, but it's exactly this package. You get a 2-drop, you get a 2-power creature, you get an artifact, and you get a late game mana sink.
So Guns now. In come his creatures once again. He's got a range of very, very aggressive creatures. I've got his deck list in front of me. Green creatures from Aether Revolt here. Seeing stuffs all the way from Aether Herders and Aether Stream Leopards, all the way up to Lifecraft Cavalry here. Van Etten, he's going to chuck this automaton into that skiff and line up some blocks here. Not the easiest position to be in here, Simon.
No, Andreas also didn't want the permanent counter on the Thriving Rhino, but instead made his Leopard 4 power with one of the 2 energies that he had left.
So that's going to require Van Etten now to line up a double block in order to take down this Leopard, which again does have trample. We saw the Highspire Infusion getting in for some extra damage as well. Guns rather neatly gaining a little bit of extra value off of that combat trick. Ended up being a tidy turn. We kind of initially branded that turn as a little bit inefficient, but the negate really tidied things up afterwards, Simon. That's impressive stuff from Guns.
And Guns kind of knew that protecting the Rhino with a negate would make sure that he was still the aggressor.
And now another answer here to Van Etten's blocks, and this is a tidy little 2-for-1 here. We're seeing not a card that you can really play around a lot of the time. As a rare, it can be a little bit of a trick for people, but Heroic Intervention, making permanents indestructible and hexproof the rest of your turn, means that Leopard sticks around while the other 2 do not. Oh, sorry, the Skiff is stuck around as well, sorry. The Osprey has been taken care of. There is Intervention, Ajani, slicing and dicing that net in half. And now we're going to see the automaton selected for inspection here. Quality control at its finest as we go back to Guns now, shipping the turn to Van Etten. He's got to find something here. He's definitely under the gun. Caught in the Brights in his hand there, Zimon. That's a premium removal spell.
It's very interesting how Guns has supported his 2 creatures with 4 spells. That's good if it happens like this, but it can also lead to awkward draws where you have your creature killed early or are on defense and don't have this luxury.
So Caught in the Bright's coming down now, you can see here, and the automaton's going to get in with the Skiff. So Caught in the Bright's going to take a little bit of pressure off here as we see it's exiled immediately. So that that Rhino is really just rammed over by the Sky Skiff, turned into a bit of a road pancake here. But Caught in the Bright's an impressive card on its own, and the Vehicle Clause is a nice little extra. Leopard coming in once again for 4. And the follow-up play. It's the Aether Herder. So Aether Herder, the green version of the Aether Cycle, kind of like the Thriving cards that you can get. They gain 2 energy, and you can pay 2 energy to make a servo when it attacks, rather than a +1/+1 counter. Interesting twist on the old sort of expected thing from the Thriving cards. Van Etten, without an answer, is going to go to game 2 now. Andreas Guns picking it up rather convincingly, you'd have to say. And Zimon, I want to kind of pick apart his gameplay there just very briefly, because you mentioned before about how the green-blue decks can get these awkward draws, but when things pan out nicely, when you've got an aggressive green creature getting in there early, and you can back it up with these blue tempo spells and protection spells, pump spells, whatever else, things look pretty good.
This was almost like a constructed deck archetype, which we actually call this aggro tempo. Sometimes also called aggro control, but it doesn't really transform into a control deck. It just wants to make sure that it's this one step ahead.
Yeah, and we see this a lot in, this is the classic thing in many constructed formats. Legacy, I would say, more than anywhere else, we see like a Delver or a Nimble Mongoose coming down being protected. But we're over to our other table now. Steve Hatto against Christoph Zaremba. And look at this. We can see Ajani Unyielding on the battlefield here. So this Planeswalker enormously powerful indeed, with a Swords to Plowshares tacked on with a little impulse type effect here. And we're going to see Zaremba snag a card off the top of this +2 activation of Ajani here. Pretty sure that Ajani should have an extra loyalty counter on. I'm not sure how he managed to just put 1 on here. So maybe we need to get that fixed up here with that Ajani. Perhaps there could be something else going on. Skyskiff coming down for Zaremba as well. He looks to be in a good position here. Though facing down some pressure from Steve Hatto. Sitting on top of a spontaneous artist. You can see some vehicles there as well. Zaremba following up now with the Countless Gears Renegade. Doesn't look like Revolt was triggered this turn. And ships the turn back to Steve Hatto. So Hatto with a servo, with a spontaneous artist, and an automaton as well. See what he can pull out of the hat this turn. So it looks like that servo is going to jump into the train. It's off the rails here, but it's going to get tapped down by Zaremba. By the pacification array. In comes the spontaneous artist, in comes the verdant automaton. Tight little attack here. And that's the end of a journey.
No way to save it, because Skyskiff is not very good on defense in this spot.
So back to Zaremba now. With the Skyskiff, with the Countless Gears Renegade, and a pacification array, keeping the train at bay here.
Yeah, but Christoph is really low on resources. Don't know what happened this game, because he did have the powerful Planeswalker, but Steve's card just look a lot stronger here.
Yeah, running him over here as the automaton gets bigger and bigger. Starts off as a 1-2. It's now a 3-4, thanks to the 2 activations. It's slow, but I tell you what, it can get there, Zimon. We're going to see the servo jump in the train, but once again, there has been a slight delay. And the train is stuck at the station. The other two, however, getting in there. The artist, once again, with the automaton. This duo getting in for another whack here with Zaremba. Not much for him to do or say. Oh, and look at this. Free Jam Regent's going to come down and stamp his authority on the battlefield. Look at this. A huge dragon entering the battlefield now. And that's going to turn things even further in Hatto's favour now. A 4-4 for 6, of course, with weird kind of fire breathing. You can pay 2 mana, 1 and a red, to give it +2/+0 until end of turn. But, ooh, it's going to have its privileges revoked. There we go. Check your privilege, please, says Zaremba to the Free Jam Regent. And it's back now to Hatto. So these players trading blows, but it looks like Hatto is sort of edging ahead here, Simon.
Yes, he has the ability to grow his creatures. He has a few more spells at his disposal. I'm also quite curious what he's playing white for. We see a lot of planes, so it looks like it's only a green splash. However, most of his cards are red and green.
So the servo taps down the Untethered Express here. And we're going to see now this automaton get in for 4 here, in addition to the spontaneous artist. Spontaneous artist without any energy by the look of things to give things haste, but nothing to have given anything haste to recently. I suppose the Free Jam Regent could have got there. Another play from Zaremba, but things are sort of a bit of a leisurely pace here. We may head back to our first game, I should say, between Andreas Gans and Bart van Etten. You can see them there on your screen. These guys have already started with game number 2, and Gans off to, once again, a more aggressive start than his opponent with a 2-1. The Sage of Shayla's Claim coming down on turn number 2, Zimo.
Not the most impressive 2-drop, but as we said, Andreas really wants to get on the battlefield as early as possible. And if that means you will have to play some weaker cards that synergize nicely with the rest of what you're doing, that's fine.
The follow-up play here, we have seen the Aetherstream Leopard already get some stuff done, but it's immediately going to eat a Welding Sparks here. So Van Etten, having learned his lesson, he knows that kitty's got claws, and so away it goes to the graveyard. Now finally a play from him. It's Oval Chase Dragster.
Bart also using his turn 3 quite nicely. He knows that Andreas is very likely to play a 3 toughness creature on turn 3. And getting that off is the first step to winning this race.
Oval Chase Dragster not at the top of many people's lists in terms of, premium vehicles here. It does hit very hard, but it doesn't hit very often. That's the problem.
Yeah, on offense it actually trades quite miserably with even a servo token. I do like it on defense actually, because you can trade with most of the creatures in this format.
Yeah, it can trade up quite nicely. Here's Rogue Refiner now for Guns. This card just all about that value. Look at that. Two energy counters and a card on top of a reasonable body. I mean, it's not the best 3/2 for 3 here, but it still gets stuff done.
Oh, it's just really, really strong. I'm sure it's a huge reason for being in blue-green for Andreas Gans.
I don't know what this guy's doing. Seems like he's taking a potion out of some kind of broken fireplace there. Don't know exactly what's happening there. But the Rogue Refiner, all the same. Going to get stuff done. Oh, no, excuse me. No, it's not. How about this? This is a very, very tidy play here. The Fairgrounds Warden not only taking care of the Rogue Refiner, but also fueling this attack with the Oval Chase Dragster. That's good for 6 damage. However, if that Fairgrounds Warden gets killed, Simon, that is awkward.
Yeah, then it definitely looks like Andreas would get even more value. But value is not everything. He is now not on the board. It's very different from game 1.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have a Rhino or the real offense going on, and this is scary against red-white.
So Guns now is going to have to make some kind of follow-up play here. And with 5 mana, he looks to have found something. It's the Reservoir Walker. Reservoir Walker coming in, gaining you 3 life, 3 energy as well. For 5 mana as a 3/3, very tidy little card, but it's not blowing anyone's mind.
No, I think it's similar to the Sage. You play it because you are a blue-green energy deck,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not thrilled about it.
I think this card though, it has so much upside in improvised decks. If you can get this sort of thing onto the battlefield as a again a fuel for your improvised cards, something that slows down the game a little bit and enables you to go a bit wider and a bit bigger, it's definitely got a role to play there.
Especially because it does buy you time if you need it.
So we're going to see the Oval Chase Dragster once again. The Fairground Warden jumping into the Dragster and hooning off down to the Bell Street Macca's in the VL Turbo, and the Sage of Shayla's Claim is going to jump in the way here. And this is what we talked about. But a shock, however, is going to draw the... We'll keep the Oval Chase Dragster alive for a while, but Simon, we're about to see the Dragster trade down in a big way there, but that's a nice way for Van Etten to keep the initiative ahead.
Yeah, and the turn where Fairgrounds Warden took away the blocker, crewed the vehicle, and the Sage was busy attacking Bard. So this is where the tempo of the game really turned around.
Yeah, that was really where Van Etten sort of chucked it into high gear and got in there nice and quickly. But here is the Gearseeker Serpent. That's going to come down as a 6 mana 5/6 this time. Does have old pseudo affinity for artifacts here, and Gearseeker Serpent, as you can see, can't be blocked if you're willing to chuck 6 mana at it. So one of these cards that we've seen close out a lot of games throughout this format, Zima.
Yeah, I think it will be less relevant now with either Revolt because there are more ways to use your mana in the later stages of the game.
Yeah, this is not something we saw a lot in Kaladesh. There weren't a huge amount of mana sinks, but now we've got the Cycle of Automatons. We've got many cards that you can dump a bunch of mana into to gain these sort of slow advantages. I mean, there was stuff like Thopter Foundry and things in Kaladesh, but nothing really that you could just dump a bunch of mana into. Oh, and look at this. It's another free Jam Regent making an appearance here. How much does that jam cost? Don't worry, it's free, says Bart Van Etten. With this flyer looking to dominate the board here. Once again, it can get in for a fair chunk of damage at the moment and just cast off 4 lands as well. That's very, very neat and tidy.
It's threatening to kill Andreas in 2 turns. So this has to be dealt with. And one thing that blue-green is not very good at is killing creatures.
Not permanently, at least. We see these tempo spells, we see stuff like Left in the Dust, whatever else, keeping these creatures off the board, but there's no permanent solution to these troublesome creatures. You're right, Zimo.
Well, I think what Andreas needs is a Prey Upon or a similar effect, because even a reach creature is probably not good enough to fight with the dragon.
No, I mean, you can chuck a Highspire Artisan or something in front of the Regent, but that's not a permanent solution, as we said. Gearseeker Serpent's going to come in, inviting his opponent to block here, Andreas Guns. We don't see the activation. Still got a bunch of mana in available. Van Etten. He's just going to take it, going into 11 here.
He doesn't have a good block. Definitely doesn't want to block with Fairgrounds Warden.
No. And Guns now with 7 mana. Got 3 cards in hand. Can't quite make out what's going on here, but oh, look at this. Toot toot, all aboard. It's our first Renegade Express and a high Hinterland Drake joining the party as well. So Guns here with a making a real effort to once again get on the battlefield here. Hinterland Drake is a 2/3 for 3. Can't block artifact creatures as you see on your screen. Can block Free Jam Regents, however. And should we see a High Spire Infusion or something like that's him on. That could be a problem here for Bart Van Etten.
And Andreas is potentially able to even win this race. It's not going to be easy, but there is a chance.
Well, the Dragon's going to make it hard, but should Guns have a way to, if not remove it, at least pacify it or mollify it, at least for a little bit, then he's certainly ahead with things like the Freighter, with the Hinterland Drake in the air, and of course the Gearseeker Serpent, which can nug his opponent for 5 at the drop of a hat.
Andreas has this one untap blue mana, so inspect for
Select for inspection.
select for inspection
Inspect for selection.
would be one way to really turn this game around.
Well, these creatures have just been tapped, so should Guns have this card right now, it would be an ideal time to deploy it. Van Etten presenting a lethal attack here. Guns does have blockers, however.
Depending on his hand, he might want to just block with the Express, because it's going to be difficult for him to crew creatures to win the game next turn.
Yeah, he's going to have to keep up some measure of defense against his opponent's board here.
Actually, there's a huge problem, if I'm not mistaken. The dragon can pump itself up to 8 power, so you need to put more than 3 toughness on the dragster.
Oh, the dragster, of course, having trample as well here.
And all of Guns' creatures have 3 toughness, so that's a really awkward spot.
We did say before, Zimon, that this little motor car, it does hit hard. It doesn't hit very often, was what we said, but I tell you what, it certainly got in this time. That shock getting the Sage of Shayla's Claim out for another 6 damage. Attacking into an empty board before for 6 damage. I mean, this card's really done a huge amount of work. Kind of have to eat my words a little bit here as we see Hinterland Drake jump in the front of the Regent. And Van Etten with no answer here, and Guns without a select for inspection himself. So now Guns having to find some measure to protect himself from this massive dragon, as we see a Thopter Arrest take care of the Gearseeker Serpent here. So Van Etten going from strength to strength. He's looking to equalize here, Zimon. We could be very close to the end of game number 2 here in our first live round. Certainly a pleasure to have your company, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, joining us on our first foray into the coverage of this event. Many, many huge names here readying themselves for the Pro Tour coming up next weekend in Dublin. And, of course, after their 3-round buys have finished, we'll be bringing you all the action from the top tables from GP Prague. As we see Guns continue to develop his board, it's a Druid of the Cowl now. Not the most impressive turn million play, but still, it's going to do something.
Yeah,
We're going to see Free Jam Region up to 8 power. And that is it. So, it is going to do nothing. It's going to get back into his hand now as Andreas Guns packs up his cards with the attack from Bart Van Etten, equalizing things very nicely there for him. He's very happy with that. Look at that. You can see the jubilant, triumphant face of Bart Van Etten and Andreas Guns licking his wounds as these guys go to game number 3.
9 unused energy on Guns' side of the board at the
an
end of the
interesting
game.
point there, Zimon. Yeah, I didn't keep a good track of that, but yeah, he really didn't leverage that, did he?
No, he didn't have the cards for it, so he generated the energy with, which ultimately made his card subpar.
Yeah,
because he didn't use this resource at all.
Playing cards like Sage of Shayla's Claim without any kind of payoff cards, they look kind of embarrassing there. So, unfortunately for him, he has gone down in game number 2. We'll see how things shake out in our 3rd game. But it's back to Hatto and Zaremba. Looks like Zaremba did manage to pull through after game number 1 there.
I do have to say, now that I see these two people, Steve Hatto, I'm pretty sure, is on the right. So
we may have those the life bars there the wrong way around. We'll have to double check that.
because it also says, yeah, because we saw a Johnny on the right hand side,
Mm-hmm.
and the Johnny player was losing. So now I think in your mind you just have to
You have to flip that around yourselves, my friend.
flip those around.
We may indeed have slightly a slightly wrong configuration there, slightly incorrect. Looks like we do indeed. Zaremba without any copies of Ajani in his deck list.
So Zaremba is on 5 and currently deploying creatures with his red
on
white deck.
On the left-hand side. It's SRAM's expertise that's going to come down. He'll get 3 servos into play as well as the Night Market Guard here. The 3/1 that can block 2 creatures. Just like the Oval Chase Dragster. It blocks well, but doesn't block very often. Renegade Rallier, Girapur Osprey, Druid of the Cowl on the side of Steve Hatto, in addition to the Aegis Automaton. And it's back to Hatto now. Once again, the life bar at the top has been inverted.
Aegis Automaton is a weird card.
Yeah, how do you feel about it?
I like it, but I don't think I would want to have it in my deck if I can help it.
A 2-mana 0/3 with, what can be a pretty good ability if you're playing a Revolt deck. But then again, it costs 5. 5 to return a creature to your hand, a creature that you control. I don't know, man.
You can block with it, you can return it, and then maybe get an effect from it. But
you can't return the automaton itself. You can block another creature and return that. So that's relevant upside there, yeah, for sure.
Also, I don't think you're blocking so many two power creatures on the ground in this format.
No.
So ultimately, the package is not convincing enough for me.
No, I don't. Unless you've sort of got a pretty strong reason to play it. It doesn't impress me too much. We can see Narnam Renegade. Well, here's a nice cheap Revolt card as well, coming down as a 1/2 Death Touch. Would have a +1/+1 counter on it here for Steve Hatto if Revolt were enabled. Now we look at Zaremba's board as he gets in with this Night Market Sentry. Oh, and then here we go. Free Jam Regent once again. No charge for Jam today, ladies and gentlemen. It's all free. So we did see the Dragon run away with the previous game between Van Etten. But right now, it's looking to do Zaremba some favours. It's down to 3, however, with Hatto now. 2 mana. What could it be?
Ooh.
Conviction for a lethal attack in the air. A lot of hesitation there from Steve Hatto as he looked to fix things up. And look at this. Here we go. So that's going to be an end to the Free Jam region thanks to the alley evasion, giving +1/+2 to the Girapur Osprey. That meant it was what, a 4/6, 4/10, 4 million?
Yeah, 3/5, 4/7.
4/7, 4 million. There we go. And that's going to be the end of that one. A tiny little conclusion for Steve Hatto, who has managed to equalise things after going down to his opponent, Christoph Zaremba, in game number 2. So these two players heading to their third game, as indeed are Andreas Gans and Bart van Etten on your screen. You can see them there, measured, quietly confident, Simon. And based on what we've seen, it's really up to Andreas Gans to find an aggressive start and back it up with these tempo spells.
Andreas will be on the play for the first time this match. That makes a big difference. And we will have to look out for his turn 3. Is there an energy-consuming green creature, green 2/3 creature or not?
Yeah, is he going to have the Aether Stream Leopard? Is there going to be a Thriving Rhino? That's kind of what's going to define this game here as we look at exactly how things are going to go between these. Bart van Etten, we've seen his aggressive cards and some, he leveraged them very well in game number 2, but I think this is a question of how far Andreas Gans can get ahead and how early he can get ahead. And it's up to Van Etten to either play catch-up or just put roadblocks in the way.
Funnily enough, game 2 was not how he envisions his deck to play out normally. If he's red-white aggressive vehicles and spends his turn 3 removing an opposing creature and then his turn 4 a vehicle that cannot attack.
No, that was his first permanent, wasn't it? Yeah, the Oval Chase Dragster.
So he really turned it around with his plays on turn 5 and 6.
Yeah, he did really well to pull together a W there, and we'll see how these guys go as we head to head in game number 3 of our first televised round here at GP Prague. Once again, a pleasure to have your company. Joining us this weekend in the booth, my friends, of course, you're very, very lucky indeed to have the company of Tim Willoughby and Matej Zadelkai. They'll be coming your way before very much longer, but right now, it's Zimon and Riley. Andreas Guns, Bart Van Etten on your screen, left and right respectively. And already now, Zimon, we've seen the turn 3 play. It's Trophy Mage.
Yeah, so a little bit more of a value play, but getting a vehicle out of the deal is certainly good value.
Yeah, Trophy Mage a great card if you've even got just one card to search out of it. More than that, of course, and you're really going to have a great time. And it's Aviary Mechanic coming down in addition to the Renegade Wheelsmith here. So Renegade Wheelsmith, a lot of stuff going on here. Once again, it's one of these gold 3-mana 3/2s. But as a pilot of a vehicle, it can be really, really insane. I mean, not only does when it attacks can it falter something, but also when it crews a vehicle. So this card is really looking to get in early and get in often.
Yeah, and this has a double role, as you said. It will start as an attacker when the shields are down, and then in the late game you can even crew your vehicles with it and make your opponent's best creature, your opponent's best flyer, your opponent's best reach creature unable to block.
Yeah, and if you're attacking with something like an Iron Tread Crusher, the 4-mana 6/6 to crew 3, then that's, and then having, as you say, their best creature unable to propose some kind of defense. I mean, that's how you get ahead of the game here.
There are a bunch of things you can do with a trigger like that.
Hinterland Drake now. Yeah, a lot of silly stuff to be done with Renegade Wheelsmith and Mobile Garrison as well. Untapping the Wheelsmith again. Or something else. Here's a Hinterland Drake. We've already seen this one in the previous game. The 2/3. Can't block artifact creatures. Not going to get in the way of any Thopters flying through now. And on the side of Van Etten, still with that Aviary Mechanic there, in addition to the Wheelsmith.
Andreas has a pretty good idea that Bart has access to a lot of instant removal. We haven't seen so many combat tricks, but we've seen Shock and Welding Sparks. So one of his specialties is to clear the way.
So yeah, looks like Guns is being pretty circumspect with how he lays out a defense here. And Iron League Steed's going to get in straight away, fabricating onto itself as a 3/3 for haste, a 3/3 haste for 4. That's a nice deal here, and that's a strong attack for Guns or for Van Etten as well, into his opponent's 2/2s and 2/3s.
Yeah, especially because of the downset of the Drake. So there was basically no reasonable block. Andreas is forced to hold back because otherwise an alpha strike by Bart Van Etten would just leave him a bit low on defense.
Yeah, a double block there with the Drake and the Mage would have been perhaps an option were it not that the Drake can't block artifact creatures. Would have been a fine block, I think, really, but...
I think you're happy to make that trade, yes, because...
Trade off your 2/3 flyer against the haste.
Okay, you lose a flyer, you lose a 2/3 creature, but ultimately you're trading for a 3/3, so you are getting a solid deal.
Yeah, and for more mana as well. Here is Iron Tread Crusher. This is the card we were talking about before. 4 cost 6/6 with crew 3. Bit of a steep crew cost here, Zimon.
Not for red-white usually, because they have these 3-power creatures, but for green-blue it's really a lot more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the creatures on the battlefield now for Andreas Guns, and we've already seen stuff like the Rhino, stuff like the Etherstream Leopard, but look at this. Here's a Shock on the Trophy Mage.
Yeah. And this is now devastating.
Oh, right, yeah, look at this. So no really... I mean, not a lot of great options here for Guns when it comes to blocks.
Actually, there will be no block by Guns this turn. It's already clear that if he activates the Crusher, then that will be unable to block.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, his flyer will be unable to block, and he doesn't have the 3 crew.
So look at this. As we said, Wheelsmith getting in and getting rid of the Drake. Sorry, when it comes to blocking. And Guns now down to 7. The Wheelsmith has really welcomed Guns to the Wild Wild West today. Van Etten really getting off to an absolute fly here, Simon.
Yes. And there's just not much that the blue-green deck is able to do.
And look at this, more durdling around with these these gold cards we've seen already. The Rogue Refiner gets some stuff done in the last game. Drawing a card, developing some energy. Druid of the Cowl coming down as well here. But Van Etten, you'd have to say, in the driver's seat.
Literally, yes. But at least Andreas was able to deploy 2 creatures. So this is not over. He has a 3 power creature now, which is crucial.
Ah, yes, of course. That Refiner can jump into the monster truck here and get the Demolition Derby started. But still, Van Etten very much in a commanding position when it comes to combat, thanks to the Wheelsmith. A huge fan of this Wheelsmith card. Yeah. It's, again, as you say, scales nicely into the late game when it's crewing vehicles. Obviously, it's Sun off spouting inanity on Twitter all the time. But apart from that, very, very useful role player in the red-white deck. But look at this. Here's the Thopter Arrest.
Are not quite decided.
No. He's still having to think about it. Just check out this sweet piece. Check out this sweet piece of removal I got. I'm not sure where it's going yet, but just have a look at it. Letting his opponent really taste it here. Where are you putting the Thopter Arrest?
First intuition was the Refiner. Then the 6/6 becomes activated for the turn, but at least you're dealing permanently with the creature that is able to crew it.
Well, instead we're seeing it on the monster truck. I'm not exactly sure how that works flavor-wise. A helicopter coming down, picking up the huge 6/6 here, but the Rogue Refiner is not going to be able to block. It's been faulted. Stick it onto the other side. The Hinterland Drake can block and can clean up a creature or two here.
Yeah. Bart van Etten, in the last 2 turns, he has gone always for the tempo play. He played the shock not to break up a double block, but just to make sure that he could attack with all his creatures. And similarly, he now uses the Thopter Arrest, not for maximum value, because getting the Refiner off the board would make his board more dominant, but he knows he doesn't have to. He just needs to win in the next 2 turns.
He's just staying ahead of the game, and we see now the Girapur Osprey is going to put more pressure in the air as Guns falls down to 1. We can see the Thriving Rhino in his hand. We can see on the board again the Rogue Refiner, the Druid of the Cowl, his only presence now. And look at this, toot. Is it going to be the Trainsky?
He actually got that on turn 3. With his trophy mage, he just didn't have the time to even deploy it.
Yeah, and this is what we've seen. He's been under the gun in a big way here. Now the Thriving Rhino comes down, gaining 2 more energy. And Guns, is he going to die with the full energy pool once again?
Oh, this time at least he played more powerful creatures overall. If he's holding an appetite for the unnatural, he might have a trick up his sleeve that could save him. We will see.
Nope, all he's got up his sleeve is a handshake, ladies and gentlemen, as Bart van Etten takes it out 2-1 against Andreas Guns. Simon, such an amazing contrast there between Guns' first game where he didn't miss a step. He was at it, he was going for the throat, and he picked up the win very convincingly in game number 1, but game number 2, Bart van Etten just stomped him into the dirt.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it wasn't that Bart presented something unbeatable. It was really that Andreas' deck in games 2 and 3, the overall synergy...
Yeah, it just didn't come together. It was dripping and dribbling all over the show and just really couldn't get the engine into top gear there. So disappointing stuff for Andreas Guns. I'm sure he's not going to be too happy to have picked up his first loss, but Bart van Etten, you can see, look at that big smile all over his face there. He'll be very happy to move on to 3-0. Now, Simon, plenty of other players at 3-0, as our viewers will discover once the players with buys come in. But right now, it's back to our second table. Steve Hatto versus Christoph Zaremba.
Yes, and Steve Hatto is actually on the right, Christoph on the left. We will have to manage here. So the white-red player is on 11 life on the left, whereas Steve, with his green-white deck, still at 20.
So yes, as Simon said, the players, the life bars mixed up there. They're on the wrong sides, it seems. We're going to get that double check to make sure we can bring you the clearest coverage possible. But this board state, Simon, looks a little bit similar to the one that we saw briefly in game number 2. You can see Renegade Rally, you can see a couple of artifact creatures, Countless Gear Renegade, a few other creatures flying around here.
Yeah, and a little bit of a rules question there.
Seeing what's going on here with these servos in relation to a looks like it's a SRAM's expertise that might be causing the issue.
I think it's really about the Quicksmith Genius trigger.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So the Quicksmith Genius, of course, they're checking on which order this happens in. So the SRAM's expertise puts 3 artifacts into play, and Quicksmith Genius lets you rummage whenever an artifact comes into play. My sort of back of the envelope calculations say that he's not going to get to rummage even once because of the order of the card.
If it's precisely first this enters the battlefield, then this, then the second creature will not see the previous ones.
No, I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go. I could be wrong. It's never happened before, but first time for everything, Zimon.
This is the exploration phase of a new format. Limited, constructed.
Just smash those cards together and see what comes out.
Yeah, that's what I usually do as well.
Sometimes physically it helps. I wouldn't recommend that.
I don't know how much rules knowledge you gain, but
Certainly not. Certainly not. Renegade Rallier now being beefed up with this conviction. And we're going to see an attack here from Steve Hatto, looking to get in with a couple of creatures. Not only the Renegade Rallier getting in there, of course you can see the Narnum Renegade right hidden up there, right at the top of the screen. A 1 mana 3/2 Death Touch every time, except when it isn't.
2/3, right?
2/3.
Yeah.
1 mana 1/2 with Revolt gets a +1/+1 counter. Does have Death Touch, and this is it's a great card. Really, really good card. The Narnum Renegade, I reckon.
I'm a big fan of Death Touch creatures in Limited because of how valuable they can be at any stage of the game.
Well, that's it. I mean, they have pseudo unblockability at times. They're a lot of the time, even the weak ones that are sort of underpowered can get in for a few points of damage, and then they're just kind of this weird removal spell that sits around, kind of like a Seal of Doom or something in a lot of cases.
I'm just happy to see Conviction on the battlefield. Yeah, it's it's not a good Magic card. It's not something where you say, look, I'm happy to have this.
Yeah.
But there are reasons to put it in your deck, and it does give you a lot of options.
Yeah.
So if you're a good player, you will be able to just do all these kind of tricks.
Ooh, check this out. And this is exactly what we've seen here. Look at that. That is a filthy turn of events here. And you've, Zimon Gertzen, you've just absolutely hit the nail on the head with this conviction. So Revolt has triggered, and we've had this all sort of go very, very quickly. We've had the Renegade Rallier get blinked by the white instant.
With Acrobatic Maneuver.
Acrobatic Maneuver, getting the Renegade Rallier back into play. That automatically means that Revolt is triggered, and the conviction was returned to the hand before that took place.
So there were actually, in this case, two reasons for Revolt.
Well, 3 as well, because the Narnum Renegade also left the battlefield, and it enters the battlefield. Revolt triggers once again, and it comes down, as it always does, as a 2/3 Death Touch. That's great. That's an amazing play from Steve Hatto, because he cleared out 2 of those servo tokens. He's got back his resources, and he's forcing his opponent to use more cards in order to deal with cards that he's getting for free.
Yeah,
such impressive stuff.
This is great, and the green-white deck, if the game goes longer, you will have the stronger creatures, and a card like Conviction makes it so tough for red-white.
Now, we had Conviction bounce to the hand of Steve Hatto. That wasn't to trigger Revolt. That was initially, what you might have thought, but it was to make sure it didn't go to the graveyard after the Acrobatic Maneuver blinked the Renegade Rallier. So really tidy and correct play from Steve Hatto here. And Conviction comes in once again. Zimon Gertzen frothing at the mouth here. He's absolutely loving it as the Narnum Cobra comes in. It's convinced of something, surely. And once again, a Death Touch creature proving a difficult thing for Zaremba to deal with here.
Narnum Cobra's main weakness, the 1 toughness, in a world of servo tokens. Not anymore.
Short up at least a little bit, of course, by that conviction.
And because of how Death Touch works, there's not even a good block available for you.
No, of course, Death Touch, double blocking against the Death Touch creature is just such a bad idea, because you can just assign 1 damage to each of the creatures, and there it is, they all go away. But a double block it is. Oh, Zaremba forced into this situation to clear that Cobra off the table here. So what does Steve Hatto do here? Bounce the conviction to his hand, right, and just clear out those 2 creatures.
Activate Death Touch. trade with both of them. That's more than he could. That's more than he could ask for.
Yeah, more than he could have hoped for sure. What a great sequence for him. It's all coming up Haddo. It's all coming up Haddo right now as we see the conviction turn back into the hand, just as we expected, just like the doctor ordered, ladies and gentlemen, and away go those two creatures. Zaremba's board becoming weaker and weaker, and Haddo really turning the screws on his opponent, his Iman.
Yeah, he knows how powerful this aura is against the red-white deck. There might even be a... Is this the creature that's forced to attack each turn? I can't quite make it out. Either way, no, I guess it would have had to attack earlier. But
no,
Steve,
it looks like it's the Gear Smasher here.
Steve is just... Emerald Gear Smasher.
Yeah, the Emerald Gear Smasher there. The 2/3, you can sacrifice an artifact to deal 2 to an opponent.
This is just Steve knowing that both the archetypes that they are facing here, but also his particular cards give him such an advantage in the late game that he doesn't have to play a quick game.
Verdant Automaton on the side of Christoph Zaremba here, and now it looks like, oh, look at this, a green, it looks like Lifecraft Awakening now coming down. And that's going to clear things out. Oh, no, it's an Appetite for the Unnatural. Oh, so Steve Haddo once again, just with all the answers here. It's going to keep his rallier around. This game developing at lightning pace. And here's the Fairgrounds Trumpeter. No immediate way to activate it so far, but still Haddo here really, really turning the screws. Zaremba's going to have to find something very special here.
You can already see how the green-white deck is somehow doing more things that fit together than what we saw from...
It just ekes so much more value out of its cards.
Compared to the red-white deck, but also compared to the blue-green deck of Andreas Gans.
Thriving Ibex now the play for Zaremba, and again, this is not a synergistic forward-driven play like the ones that Steve Haddo is making. I'm so impressed by the way he's utilised the resources that he's had. Just the timing with which he's played his cards, his sequencing has been fantastic, and he's been rewarded for it.
And you do get this advantage, you do get this edge if you are already preparing for the Pro Tour with your team. We can talk about the teams that will be there next week that are also here later on, but you have an edge on the competition which is probably higher than at any other GP.
It's about anything else. When I was in year 8, right, my flute teacher, I was very bad at flute, he explained to me the only reason he was any better at playing the flute than me was that he'd had more time to practice, right? Now, we get further into a format and, the hours and hours that you spend, they build up over this time, but there is no one on the face of the earth who has spent more time playing with these cards competitively than these players at the top level here. There is no one who has more familiarity with the ins and the outs of it. And as you say, Simon, that kind of levels off that advantage. It goes away as more and more people become more and more familiar with the cards. But right now, that's when these pros get the advantage.
Being a pro, being a Magic pro doesn't mean you are always so much better than everybody else. But at the moment where it matters.
When it counts. That's exactly right.
And then the others play catch up. And then you get the advantage that a new set, new formats, new rotations make it possible for you to use that faster learning curve, the better team connections. And
that's it. It's about the connections that you have to other players. It's about your skills as a player yourself, the way that you assimilate new information, consolidate it. Exactly the same as playing the flute as a 14-year-old boy, I would imagine. Zaremba now on the offensive. On the defensive after having attacked with the Thriving Ibex. We're going to see a double block here. Conviction's been bouncing around all over the show.
Yeah, and the...
Oh, and look at this. This Countless Geared Renegades was built to last, ladies and gentlemen. German engineered. We see the Conviction return to Haddo's hand. I find it odd that a card called Conviction can be taken away and given to things so easily.
But white is not always as clear as it wants to be perceived.
No, that's right. So Zaremba now ships the turn to Haddo. And once again, he's found his Iron Steed League.
Or League Steed.
His Steed Iron League.
He's having too much fun with...
this Conviction's just going everywhere. I think the Conviction has entered the battlefield about 7 or 8 times so far. Fairgrounds Trumpet is going to benefit from the League of the Iron Steeds.
But actually, no attacks. So he doesn't really find his way through there. He doesn't find this lethal attack that he's looking for. Oh wow, that was a quick response by Steve. It's almost like he's been waiting for it.
Yeah, he's sort of he did not seem to be too perturbed by that here. I'm very curious to see what his plan for dealing with this free jam region is. This is free jam region number 4 so far in round number 3.
Yeah, it has been kind of the MVD
Yeah,
of this round.
MVD for sure.
Okay, does Steve have it, or was he just? I mean, if my opponent reacts like this when I play my bomb rare, I kind of know that something is fishy, you know.
Conviction jumps across the other side of the battlefield onto this elephant now. So the Iron League steed looks to be harried here by the thriving Ibex. The 3-5 is going to eat up that 3-3 unless Haddo has something to say about it. And the Fairgrounds Trumpeter now as a, what is that, a 4-6? 4-7.
4-7. It will certainly get blocked. Christoph is not letting any creature through at this stage.
Sitting on 7 life. He's really got to work hard to preserve that life total and ride his dragon to victory.
But Steve is on 22, so even Free Jam region will not kill him easily.
No, it's not this sort of instant turnaround that we might have seen from some other cards here, but still a good bit of pressure placed by the dragon here. He's going to Fusrodar his way over to Haddo's face before too much longer, you'd think. Here are the blocks, says Zaremba. What do you got?
So it's one chump block and one 3-5 blocking a 3-3.
Yeah.
If there's nothing, it's still a relatively fair trade.
The Steed Iron League goes away now, and we see, the old trick here once again. Haddo returning the Rallier to his hand with an alley evasion, then playing it to get back the Narnum Renegade. So that's a nice one here as a 2-3 death touch. And this Rallier has brought back a fair bit of juice. Playing at lightning speed here, Zaremba's just saying, whoa, buddy.
And
cool your jets here, my friend.
Another +1/+1 counter on the trumpeter.
Of course, absolutely, yeah. So important to notice that as well. The trumpeter now a million here. What is it, a 5/8?
2/2 4/4 5/7.
Oh, so close. So close. I got one job.
We'll get there.
Yeah. I mean, speak for yourself here, Simon Goodson. Free Jam Regent takes to the skies.
It's unfortunately it's the only chance that Zaremba has. He has to raise and hope to stay alive long enough.
Got to get on that front claw, as it were. Gets in for 8 damage here. And Haddo knocked down to 11. Haddo looks to bounce around this conviction once again now. Can he poke through the final 7 points of damage before this Free Jam Regent just douses the city in marmalade?
There's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. Christoph left up a red mana. That's the first thing that I noticed. The second thing is, because he did this, he's not threatening lethal at the moment unless he has another mountain. So
he seems very relaxed. Look at that. He's rocking back and forth like an old-timey prospector on the front porch.
But basically, we know he's holding something. Otherwise, he would have been almost forced to go for maximum damage to have a shot next turn.
Yeah, of course. That's right, Zimon. He could have got in for 10 damage rather than 8. Okay. Here is the follow-up play for Steve Hatto.
Herald of the Fair? Warden of the Fair?
Certainly one of those. Herald of the Fair. Got it right the first time. Gonna buff up another creature, +1/+1. Didn't see exactly where that trigger went, Simon.
I believe on the Death Touch creature. So 3-power Death Touch creature and our friend, the 5-power Trumpeteer.
It's a 5/7. I calculated it earlier. And we're going to see what looks like to be a double block here. You would think almost certainly on the trumpeter. The old elephant looking to be in a spot of bother here. But the Renegade, the Narnum Renegade, getting without any trouble.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Steve was so far ahead this game, and he knew that there was a regent in Christoph's deck. Wondering if he gave his opponent too much time in the mid game. You know, just maybe even more aggressively attacking with, even if you have a conviction, just getting with a few more creatures. We will see. This is certainly shaping up to be interesting.
He's eked out a huge amount of value from his cards here, but right now Zaremba tapping the top of his library, hoping for something good. He's got a Plains in hand, and he's got... Can't quite see it. What is going on in his hand there?
I think he was hoping for that mountain. He was hoping to get that +8 pump that he would have needed to attack for lethal.
Freedom Regent could get in for 12 with an additional white or with an additional red source here, but it's a white source sitting in the hand of Christoph Zaremba in addition to an unknown card. He was flipping it around at light speed there. We didn't get a good look at it, Simon.
But I think he held this card last turn already because he declined to activate the regent, which he might be regretting now, depending on what he's holding.
Well, this mystery card now continuing to perplex all of us watching here, because we didn't get a good look at what it was. And we're going to see, the regent picked up, put back down once again onto the table. Zaremba's still thinking about this attack. This is a critical point for him. Shuffling his lands into the middle in a rather destitute pile, and just slams them all to the side. There we go. A pump it for $1 million. One mana floating in my pool.
Okay.
Haddo down to 1 after that ferocious attack. 2 cards in hand, but a handshake is going to seal the deal. Zaremba holding a... Still didn't see it. Still didn't quite get a good look at that card there. Was it a precise strike, Simon?
Maybe, yes. But still, in this case, I think Christoph has to...
One more mountain would have done it.
He has to...
One more mountain would have done it there for Christoph Zaremba.
He missed 2 points of damage the turn before.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to play things safe.
No,
in
that's
this kind
it.
of
When
spot.
you're behind, you got to get on the front foot and get it done. Unfortunately, Zaremba doesn't manage to do that, and it is all Hatto all day, 2-1 against his opponent. Stick around, ladies and gentlemen. More magic coming your way from GP Prague after these messages.